The air is thick with the smell of damp earth and something metallic. Rain has turned this landscape into a maze of muddy trenches, a scene repeated across 100 years of conflict. You're hunkered down, the world reduced to this sliver of cold, wet ground. Survival here isn't just about avoiding the enemy you can see, it's about enduring the unseen threats. The biting insects, the gnats, the mosquitoes, they are a relentless army of their own. They test your sanity, drain your energy, and carry diseases that can be as deadly as any bullet. In this raw, primal state, every small advantage counts. Every trick, every piece of forgotten lore becomes a lifeline. Imagine a soldier, deep in a jungle somewhere, decades ago. He's exhausted, running on fumes. He notices something strange. Around a discarded piece of brass shell casing and a strip of galvanized steel from a broken crate, the ground is clear. The usual swarm of ants and other crawling insects gives this small patch of mud a wide berth. It's an anomaly, a tiny circle of peace in a world of constant irritation. He doesn't know why. He doesn't have the language of science to explain it, but he is a survivor. He observes, he learns, and he adapts. This small, seemingly insignificant observation is the beginning of a powerful secret. This isn't a story you'll find in most history books. It's passed down through whispers, from one generation of soldiers to the next. It's etched into the field manuals of scouts and the journals of grizzled survivalists. The knowledge is practical, born from desperation and validated by experience. It's the kind of wisdom that gets you through the night. The battlefield, like the deep wilderness, is a harsh teacher. It strips away the non-essential and forces you to see the world for what it is, a system of interconnected parts. And in that system, two different pieces of metal stuck in the ground can create a zone of protection. That soldier, and countless others like him, stumbled upon a principle of nature that was hiding in plain sight. They didn't need a laboratory or a degree in physics. Their laboratory was the mud, the jungle, the forgotten corners of the world. Their proof was a night of uninterrupted sleep, a meal not swarmed by flies, a small victory against the crushing forces of nature and war. This is where our journey begins, in that muddy trench with that curious soldier, looking at a small patch of clear ground and wondering, why? It's a question that unlocks a powerful tool for anyone living off the land. The journey of this knowledge from the battlefield to the backyard garden is a fascinating one. Soldiers returning home carried more than just memories of conflict. They brought back a unique set of skills. They knew how to read the land, how to find water, and how to make do with what they had. Some of them remembered the strange phenomenon of the insect-free mud. They started experimenting in their own gardens and on their small farms. They were no longer trying to survive a war. They were trying to build a life. They were trying to grow food for their families without the constant battle against pests. These early pioneers of the Earth Battery were practical people. They saw a problem, insects devouring their crops, and they reached for a solution they had witnessed under the most extreme circumstances. They didn't call it galvanic action. They might have called it the metal trick, or simply the wire. They would drive a copper pipe into one end of their garden bed and a galvanized steel fence post into the other. Sometimes they connected them with a wire, sometimes not. They were tinkering, adapting the battlefield observation to a new context. The results were often subtle but undeniable. Fewer aphids on the beans, fewer beetles on the potatoes. This wisdom spread through communities that lived close to the land. It became part of the oral tradition of self-sufficiency. You'd hear it from an old-timer at the general store or a neighbor leaning over a fence. Got slugs? Try a bit of copper and zinc. The advice was simple, direct, and rooted in tangible results. It didn't require expensive chemicals or complicated machinery. It was homestead science at its finest, accessible, affordable, and effective. It was knowledge that empowered people, giving them a measure of control over their food supply and their environment. Over time, this folk knowledge was refined. People learned which metals worked best. They discovered that the distance between the metals mattered. They found that moist soil was crucial for the effect to work. Each garden became a small experiment and the collective knowledge grew. From the desperate improvisation of a soldier in a foxhole to the thoughtful application of a farmer tending his crops, the Earth Battery evolved. It became a testament to human ingenuity and our innate ability to observe the natural world and harness its hidden forces for our own survival and well-being. So, what is the science behind this seemingly magical effect? It's not magic at all, it's electrochemistry. The principle is known as galvanic action, or a galvanic cell. This is the same fundamental process that powers a simple battery. All you need are two different types of metal, called electrodes, and a conductive medium, called an electrolyte. In a standard battery, this might be a chemical paste, but in the case of an earth battery, the electrolyte is the soil itself. The moisture in the ground, full of dissolved mineral salts and acids, is the perfect medium to allow a subtle electrical current to flow. When you place two dissimilar metals, like copper and zinc, into this electrolyte-rich soil, a reaction begins immediately. Zinc is a more reactive metal than copper. This means it has a greater tendency to give up its electrons. The zinc bar becomes the negative electrode, the anode, and it slowly starts to corrode, releasing electrons. The copper bar, being less reactive, becomes the positive electrode, the cathode. The electrons released by the zinc flow through the conductive soil, drawn toward the copper. This movement of electrons is, by definition, an electric current, a tiny, silent, and continuous flow of energy. This microcurrent is what turns a simple garden bed into a protected zone. The voltage is incredibly low, usually just a fraction of a volt. You couldn't use it to power a light bulb, you can't even feel it if you touch the ground, but many insects and ground-dwelling pests can. Their bodies are highly sensitive to electrical fields. Think about how some creatures can sense changes in barometric pressure or the Earth's magnetic field. Similarly, the faint electrical field generated by the Earth battery is an irritant, a disturbance in their environment that they instinctively avoid. It's like a constant low-level hum that makes the area inhospitable to them. The beauty of this system is its simplicity and its reliance on natural laws. It's a perfect example of working with nature, not against it. You aren't introducing a toxic poison that kills indiscriminately and persists in the environment. Instead, you are creating a subtle energy field that acts as a deterrent. The zinc slowly sacrifices itself, atom by atom, to generate this protective current. It's an elegant, silent guardian, powered by the very earth it is protecting. Understanding this basic science demystifies the process and empowers you to apply it effectively in your own survival or gardening situations. Building your own earth battery is straightforward, whether you're in your backyard or deep in the wilderness. The materials are often easy to scavenge. You need two different metals. The classic and most effective combination is copper and zinc. For copper, you can use a piece of pipe, a thick copper wire, or even a flattened sheet of copper. For zinc, the most common source is anything galvanized. A galvanized nail, a strip of galvanized flashing, or a piece of a steel fence post coated in zinc. The key is to have two distinct metals with different electrochemical potentials. Once you have your materials, the setup is simple. Identify the area you want to protect, like a garden bed or the perimeter of your campsite. Take your two metal pieces and drive them into the ground. A good rule of thumb is to place them several feet apart. The exact distance depends on the size of the area you want to cover. For a small garden bed, placing one at each end is a good start. Push them deep enough into the soil to ensure they are in constant contact with the moist earth. At least 6 to 8 inches deep is a good target. The deeper they go, the more stable the electrical connection will be. The orientation and connection can be refined for better results. For a long, narrow garden bed, placing the metals at opposite ends works well. For a circular area, like around a tent, you might place them on opposite sides of the circle. Some practitioners swear by connecting the two metal electrodes with an insulated copper wire above the ground. This can help to create a more stable and complete circuit, ensuring the electrons have a clear path to follow. However, many people find that the moist soil alone is a sufficient conductor, and a connecting wire isn't strictly necessary for the pest-repelling effect. Experimentation is key. The most crucial element for success is soil moisture. The earth battery will not work in dry, dusty soil. Water is the catalyst that dissolves the mineral salts in the soil, creating the electrolyte needed for the current to flow. Before you install your battery, and periodically thereafter, make sure the ground is adequately damp. If you're in a dry climate or experiencing a drought, you will need to water the area around your metal electrodes regularly. This simple act of watering your battery ensures the silent current keeps flowing, and your silent guardians remain on duty, protecting your space. The primary benefit of the earth battery is its ability to repel pests without chemicals. The subtle electrical field it generates is the key. Most soil-dwelling insects, slugs, and snails navigate their world through incredibly sensitive receptors. They can detect minute changes in moisture, temperature, and electrical gradients in the soil. The current from a copper-zinc battery creates an environment that feels unnatural and uncomfortable to them. It doesn't kill them, but it effectively encourages them to go elsewhere. It's like creating an invisible electric fence that only the pests can sense, leaving your plants untouched. This pest control method is particularly effective against soft-bodied creatures, like slugs and snails. Their moist bodies are excellent conductors, making them especially sensitive to the electrical current in the soil. When they try to cross the field, they receive a mild but unpleasant sensation, causing them to retreat. The same principle applies to many root-eating larvae and crawling insects. Instead of a garden bed teeming with pests, you create a sanctuary where your plants can grow without the constant stress of being eaten. This is a form of integrated pest management that is both sustainable and completely organic. Beyond pest control, there's growing evidence that the earth battery can actually improve plant health. This phenomenon is known as electroculture. The gentle electric current flowing through the soil does more than just deter bugs. It can also make nutrients more available to the plant's root systems. The movement of electrons can help to break down mineral compounds in the soil, converting them into a form that plants can more easily absorb. This process, called iontophoresis, is like giving your plants a multivitamin boost, helping them draw up essential minerals like potassium, magnesium, and calcium. The result is a stronger, healthier, and more resilient plant. Plants grown in an electroculture environment often exhibit more vigorous growth, deeper green leaves, and increased yields. They are better equipped to withstand drought and disease because their foundational nutritional needs are being met more efficiently. So, the same simple setup that protects your plants from pests is also actively helping to feed them. It's a beautiful synergy. The earth battery isn't just a shield, it's a nurturer, working silently beneath the surface to create a thriving micro-ecosystem where your food can flourish. While the earth battery is a robust and simple tool, it is not a set-it-and-forget-it solution. Like any system, it requires a bit of maintenance and troubleshooting. The most common issue is the gradual corrosion of the zinc electrode. Remember, the zinc is the sacrificial metal. It gives up its electrons and in the process, slowly deteriorates. Over time it will become coated with oxidation or simply wear away. You might notice the effect diminishing as pests start to reappear. The solution is simple. Pull the zinc electrode out, scrub it clean with a wire brush or sandpaper, and put it back. Eventually, it will need to be replaced entirely. Another critical factor, as we've discussed, is soil condition. Dry soil will stop the flow of electricity. If your battery seems to have stopped working, the first thing to check is the moisture level. Water the area thoroughly. On the other hand, heavily acidic or alkaline soil can also affect performance. Extremely acidic soil can cause the metals to corrode too quickly, shortening their lifespan. You may need to amend your soil with lime to reduce acidity or sulfur to reduce alkalinity to find a balanced pH. Observing your plants and the soil they live in is just as important as maintaining the battery itself. These challenges are not failures, they are lessons. They teach us to be more attentive, to observe the subtle changes in our environment. Is the soil too dry? Are the metals showing signs of heavy corrosion? Learning to read these signs is part of the skill. This is what survival is all about. Not having a perfect plan, but having the ability to adapt when the plan goes wrong. It trains you to be a better observer, a better problem solver, and ultimately, a better steward of the land you are on. The earth battery is a tool, but the real knowledge comes from learning how to use it and maintain it in a living, changing environment. This simple invention, born from battlefield necessity, holds a profound lesson for us today. It reminds us that some of the most powerful solutions are not found in complex technology, but in a deeper understanding of the natural world. It speaks to a legacy of human ingenuity, of our ability to survive and thrive by observing and working with nature's fundamental laws. As we move further into a high-tech world, we must not forget these low-tech, high-wisdom skills. They connect us to the earth and to a long line of survivors who came before us. I encourage you to build one, to experiment, and to see what other secrets the land is willing to share. Keep learning, keep exploring, and share what you discover with the community at Warpath and Wilderness. Stay prepared.